Hi viewers, welcome to my YouTube channel. Let us start our discussion with a statement by JohnKeats, one of the greatest poets in English literature. Let us see what he has to say for us. JohnKeats telling, "A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases, it will never pass into nothingness." So it's a very interesting statement given by JohnKeats about the importance of nature. And let's see. The famous definition given by S.T. Coleridge and William Wordsworth in their lyrical ballads about poetry. What is poetry? Poetry is nothing but spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings and emotions recollected in tranquility. Tranquility at leisure. Okay? So powerful feelings and emotions recollected, recalled, remembered by a poet at a later stage in tranquility, at peace. Okay, this is something very important because William Wordsworth as well as S.T. Coleridge, greatest English poets, has given us this definition. And let us see, with this thought and our earlier thought of JohnKeats, "A thing of beauty is a joy forever." Let us see, we are having a discussion today in this session, a poem, Daffodils, written by a greatest poet in English literature, William Wordsworth. So William Wordsworth is considered one of the nature poet. So nature poet, a romantic poet in English literature. Let us see in Daffodils, written by William Wordsworth, what he has to say about nature, the beauty of nature, how it is important in our everyday life. Here we have daffodils, golden color, as well as we have the great poet, romantic poet William Wordsworth. Let us see what William Wordsworth has to say about daffodils in this session. Let us see how nature, how the tranquility, how the powerful emotions being depicted in the great poem Daffodils by William Wordsworth. In the first stanza we have, "I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, besides the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze." Okay, let us see what is this. "I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills." Say, I wandered. The narrator, the poet himself, it is a autobiographical. The poet is very much sad now. "I wandered lonely as a cloud." Simile. So lonely, why the poet is lonely? Because he is overcoming, or he is trying to come out of a very sad incident, tragic incident. His elder brother departure, his elder brother expired. So the poet William Wordsworth is in a very pensive, very sad mood. "I wandered lonely as a cloud." He is undergoing personal hiccup, personal setback in his personal life, that floats on high over vales and hills. So considering himself one of the in a very sad, dull, pensive mood, when he is that, when all of at once I saw a crowd. See, very interesting. I wandered and I saw. So the poet is wandering, his body, mind seems to be in a very dull, very pensive mood, sad, depressed mood. "I saw a crowd, a host, golden daffodils." The moment, he looks at the flowers, yellow, golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, all of a sudden there is a change in the mind of the poet, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. All of a sudden, see, wandered lonely as a cloud. Lonely, that part, that he is having a major setback in his personal life because losing a brother, a very sad incident, tragic incident. When he is overcoming that, suddenly, all of a sudden he saw a crowd, host, golden daffodils, and daffodils shining yellow with color, beside the lake, beneath the trees, exact location, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Very interesting. See, it is a nature. See, nature. Suddenly the poet's mind seems to be looking at something which changes his entire domain, changes his entire setbacks, changes his tragic mind. So fluttering and dancing in the breeze. So all of a sudden the poet forgets with what difficulty, with whatever setbacks he is having, personal problems. Fluttering and dancing in the breeze, looking at daffodils, entirely changes the mindset of the poet. So I wandered, I saw a crowd. So there are a lot of changes are there, his personal aspects, and as a narrator, the poet himself is explaining. It is very subjective. So whatever the poet felt as a reader, as a student of literature, we also have to feel. So now the narrator, the poet, and nature. So personal setback, personal problem, how daffodil, a part of nature, fluttering and dancing in the breeze, slowly takes the mind of the poet away from all this. The golden daffodils fluttering and dancing, a personification, that image is there. Moving further now, the poet continues as the stars that shine. So the same golden daffodils fluttering and dancing, the image of personification continues as the stars that shine. Now the poet has forgotten the tragic incident, personal setback from his life. So he seems to be just looking at the daffodils. I will read it. Continuous as the stars that shine, as the stars, it is a simile, and twinkle on the Milky Way, night stars, sky. They stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay, seashore, shore. 10,000 eyes saw I at a glance. 10,000 saw I at a glance. At a glance I saw 10,000. So it is just a hyperbole. Okay, the image. Tossing their heads in sprightly dance, sprightly, heavenly. So now in this entire this, once again the poet continue that golden daffodils shining sprightly dance, okay, heavenly, as if taking the mind of the poet, who seems to be in a very pensive, very sad, dull state, to a different world. So the golden daffodils changes the mindset of the narrator, the reader here, William Wordsworth, and he seems to be very much happy, moving with the nature, elements of nature. Here golden daffodils is being considered only, so it is almost like the stars shining, okay, and the number also tossing their heads. See the same image, once again the personification, tossing their heads as if very happily, a part of nature. So now disturbed state of a mind, disturbed state of a human being, consoled by the nature, that part is being highlighted here. This golden daffodils, now that continues as the stars shining. Now the same thought continues. The waves beside them danced. So the waves, once again the seashore or the edge, even the waves, once again element of the nature, beside them also danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee, happiness. So what the poet is trying to tell, there is the waves also, once again part of the nature, but compared to the golden daffodils, the poet feels that even the waves seems to be very dull, their dance seems to be very dull, because they outdid, they means here golden daffodils outdid the sparkling waves, sparkling shining waves in glee, happiness. So something which is there in the golden daffodils, very shining, which is very happy, outdid even the waves. A poet could not but be gay, happy. Okay, now as a poet, as a narrator, the poet slowly comes out of that tragic mindset, losing his brother. Now he considers himself as a poet now. As a poet could not but be gay. Now what happened in this such a very beautiful nature, the poet has nothing to do other than becoming happy. Such a jocund company, very happy, peaceful. I gazed and gazed. See, repetition. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. Very interesting 3 lines here. As a student of literature, we need to concentrate on that. I gazed and gazed. Gazed, observed, looked. Okay, twice it has been repeated. It also tells that the poet is taking a moment. He is relaxing a bit. He is contemplating. He is analyzing. He is almost into the world of daffodils, part of nature. He has forgotten that he is the tragic moment. He has already come out now. I gazed and gazed. Now, as a poet, William Wordsworth, the narrator, as a poet, I looked at it. I gazed, looked at the golden daffodils, but little thought, very interesting now, little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. Wealth, what type of benefit, what type of treasure this particular looking at the golden daffodils had, the show to me had brought. Show means here golden daffodils displaying a show of happiness, displaying a show of arena of peaceful living in the nature. So this wealth, what the show of golden daffodils has brought to the wealth, little thought. He is not even thinking what might have been the wealth he got on that particular occasion. So this is a very interesting thought now in this stanza. Even the wave seems to be dull, all other natural elements seems to be dull. The poet is only focusing on the golden daffodils. What type of happiness as a poet he got. And I gazed and gazed. He started to look at those flowers non-stop, continuously, forgetting everything. I gazed and gazed, repeated. Other than that, nothing he has done. So nothing is there in the mind of the poet. He just looking at the beauty of the golden daffodils. So daffodils and the poet and the daffodils. So disturbed mind disturbed human being, now it has become slowly a poet, a person who is enjoying the beauty of nature, an individual who has forgotten all his personal setbacks, problems, and now he is into the beauty of nature. This is what is important, we need to understand. So this is the wealth, the show of daffodils has brought him to him, the poet Wordsworth. And he is not even thinking what might have been the benefits which he has observed that day, that evening. Now finally we have come to the last stanza of the poem Daffodils, William Wordsworth. What he is trying to tell now? See now, finally the poet is concentrating, far off, when often, when on my couch I lie. See, on my couch, the poet considering himself, I lie. See now what is that? Now the poet is recollecting, as per the definition, powerful emotions, strong feelings, recollected in tranquility. The poet is telling, for often, many a time, when on my couch, bed, when I am lying, in vacant or in pensive mood, vacant or pensive, very disturbed, very sad mood, mindset, they flash upon that inward eye. Very interesting line, very important line also. They flash, they means here golden daffodils. So the poet, that particular moment, that particular day, whatever he has observed, 10,000, whatever he saw at once, fluttering, flashing, that dancing in the breeze, they flash upon that inward eye. Inward eye, the deep hidden mind of the poet, narrator, inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. So the poet is considering it as a blessing in disguise. The God is kind enough, the Almighty is kind enough to bestow him that particular gift. So in the form of golden daffodils. And then my heart with pleasure fills my heart. So the poet is now considering himself as a poet now, looking at the beauty of sprightly dance of daffodils. And then my heart, then means what? Often, whenever I am disturbed, vacant or pensive mood, when I am lying, okay, they flash. So always, he will be recollecting back to back golden daffodils. Then my heart, so the poet, with pleasure fills, very interesting, happiness fills and dances with the daffodils. So what is this beauty here? The poet is that particular one day, one incident when he has seen 10,000 at once the golden daffodils, he has not forgotten that. That has helped him to recover from that personal setback. So same thing is telling. Now even later, after many days, after many months, many years, even today the poet is recollecting when he is vacant or pensive mood, when he is disturbed state, they flash upon that inward eye. So in his mind, in his deepest heart, deepest feelings, these golden daffodils do remain even today. So that is the thought here. And not only they remain, my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. Even now also, like that day, that particular evening, even today also, my mind and my heart will be dancing with the daffodils, forgetting all my disturbed state, forgetting all my day-to-day problems in my everyday life. So this is the benefit, this is the wealth the poet is making us to understand in the last stanza, and that is the beauty of Daffodils, written by William Wordsworth. Finally, as a nutshell, considering the entire key thoughts of the poem Daffodils, written by William Wordsworth, I have compiled some of the important lines, important thoughts, what William Wordsworth have to say for a reader. Key thoughts. I wandered lonely. So here we need to remember that the poet is undergoing some sort of setback in his personal life. Death of his brother happened. So I wandered lonely. The poet is explaining about himself. I wandered lonely. The poet is totally silent now, disturbed state. He is not blaming anybody. He is in a very lonely, sad state, because birth and death are not in our hands, are not in the hands of a human being. Okay, it is something beyond. Now he saw golden daffodils. I wandered lonely. That moment I saw golden daffodils. Very interesting. So golden daffodils shining with gold yellow color, golden that evening, dancing in the breeze. So what the poet suddenly, when he is in a very sad state, wandered lonely, saw golden daffodils. That changed the entire domain. That changed the entire paradigm shift in the mind of the poet. Okay. How it is, not only saw golden daffodils, what about the golden, continuous as the stars that shine. Okay, never ending line was there, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. Sprightly dance, almost like heavenly. It is almost like the poet is feeling the healing touch of the nature. This part we need to understand. So golden daffodils has become like a healing touch, changing the mind of a disturbed poet, an individual human being. So golden daffodils as a part of nature, heavenly, with their dance, sprightly dance. Okay, that day evening it has changed, it has healed the mind of the poet. Now moving further, the dance of the golden daffodils. Okay, only key thoughts I am highlighting here. The dance of the golden daffodils even outdid the sparkling waves in glee, happiness, because the poet feels that that day, particularly evening, the golden daffodils which are dancing outdid the sparkling waves. Even sparkling waves seems to be dull when he looks at the happy dancing daffodils, shining golden. Gazed and gazed. So the poet repeats it. So the poet has nothing to say other than he just looked at, observed, took time, very contemplative mind. Okay, because from the disturbed state he is coming out. That is very interesting. Gazed, observed. Okay, because God has given him a chance, an opportunity to look into the nature, divine, something spiritual. Gazed, and that wealth, the benefit, whatever he got, the show. Later, in the last stanza, he is repeating, in pensive mood, very disturbed state, flash upon inward eye. So many a time later, in the last stanza, as he is telling William Wordsworth, this wealth, whatever he got from the golden daffodils, he used to recollect many a time, whenever he seems to be disturbed, upset on that part. Okay, so he is trying to tell that. And what is that? Upon inward eye, solitude. When he is lonely, single, when he is disturbed, he always used to remember those golden daffodils. My heart with pleasure fills and dances with those golden daffodils. Now what is that? I thought the very important, poet overcomes his dejected state, very disturbed state of that death earlier, whatever. So now the nature, the healing part has happened. Now the poet William Wordsworth has come out of that disturbed state of death, and he slowly is recovering, and he is very happy with nature, with golden daffodils, to be more precise. Finally, daffodils, it is symbolically, it is of the onslaught or the coming of spring, the nature, and there is a change, it is the end of the winter and coming of the spring season is also highlighted. It is almost like a rebirth. Okay, spiritually speaking, it is a rebirth and a new beginning. So daffodils symbolizes spring as well as a new beginning. It is entirely true in the life of William Wordsworth, the poet or the narrator. He is also very much disturbed, upset by a death. Now he seems to be recovering. It is a rebirth for the poet. Nature has given him. So daffodils becomes a symbol of nature changing. It is given a rebirth, a new beginning in the life of the poet. Spiritually speaking, it is almost like a rebirth for the poet, narrator William Wordsworth, coming out of that sad setback. Finally, according to me, I feel in this poem Daffodils, William Wordsworth, we understand this important thought. As a student of literature, we need to understand man and nature. Man, all his problems, nature has a solution. Okay, nature becomes a guide to our everyday life and living. Similarly, nature in the form of golden daffodils, it can become an angel showing us the right path, moving forward positively. That also we can understand. So daffodil, symbolically William Wordsworth, man, all the problems of man, we find solution in nature. Golden daffodils showing like angel, showing the path to William Wordsworth, the narrator, is the important thought we can highlight, we can understand, and we need to understand and focus. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.